Hello friends and welcome to StudyIQ. I'm Joycey Joy and today we will be discussing about the protest in Iran with regard to increase in the price of petrol. So recently Iran is witnessing widespread protest with regard to the increase in the prices of petrol. So we'll be discussing about this issue in detail. We will discuss what is the current affair. We will also see what is the rationale why such a decision was taken by the government and what are the implications of this decision. We will also see what is the rationale of the government in this regard. We will discuss about the state of economy in Iran and we will also discuss about the other challenges in Iran. Also here we will discuss about the Iran nuclear deal and also what is the way forward. So these are the topics that we will discuss today in this lecture. So very important from your UPSC perspective. Now in your paper 2, GS paper 2, international relations is very important topic. So from that perspective also we will try to connect this topic. So let us begin with the current affair. Let us first see what is the current affair. Now coming to the current affair, we have been witnessing nationwide protest in Iran against the government. Now, what is the reason? This is because the government has announced a petrol price hike. So, what is the price hike actually? 50% hike in the prices of petrol for the first 60 liters. So, if a particular person is purchasing up to 60 liters, then the price hike is up to 50%. And on every additional 1 liter, there is a 300% price hike. So from the 61st liter onwards, there is a 300% price hike. So we will see that this is a very huge rise in the prices. So this is why this is very important, and following the government order or the government announcement regarding the increase in the prices of petrol, there is nationwide protest. The country is witnessing nationwide protest and also many events of violence, which we will discuss in detail. So let us come to the decision of the government. So what is the decision of the government in Iran? Now under the scheme, the drivers with fuel cards, they need to pay 15,000 riyals, that is almost equal to 13 US cents. So 13 cents in US a liter for the first 60 liters. So this is per month basis. So for the first 60 liters of petrol bought in a particular month, there is 15,000 riyals for it. Now each additional liter will cost 30,000 riyals. So after the 60th liter, 61st liter onwards, 30,000 riyals would be the price. So this is the decision taken. Now coming to the implication of it. What are the implications? Now first thing, generally what we need to understand about the prices of petrol in Iran is that Iran still has one of the lowest fuel prices in the world. So basically the prices of fuel in Iran is low. But the current price rise, this is enough to trigger the people. So the implication is that the people are triggered. This is because already Iran's economy is going through various issues, various major issues. So apart from all the major economic issues, now the government has decided to increase the price of the petrol also. Basically, the prices of petrol in Iran is very low compared to other countries, relatively to other countries. Now, apart from various economic challenges faced by the Iran's economy, now people have got another reason to show their anger against the government because the government has increased the prices of petrol. So let us see what are the other issues in Iran. So the other issues are with regard to high rates of inflation. We will discuss about it later in this lecture in detail. So high inflation, joblessness, that is unemployment, and the economy of Iran is also collapsing. So apart from all these issues, on the top of all these major macroeconomic issues, the government has decided to increase the price of petrol. So definitely the people would be feeling it very difficult to manage the situation. So as a result of this, the people have decided to directly challenge the government, and also demonstrations has broken out in Iran. Immediately after this announcement regarding the petrol price hike was made by the government, many people were taken into the streets, and also people started directly challenging the government in the country. And following this, the security personnel, they unleashed violence on the protesters and the government has also shut down the internet. So it is reported that people have been killed in this protest. Various violence events have taken place and people are killed and many people are injured in this protest. Now let us come to the government's rationale. Very important. Why did the government decide to increase the prices of the fuel of petrol? So let us see what are the reasons. So first one, a major reason for this is that the US President Donald Trump in 2018, he decided to pull the US out of the nuclear deal. So we will discuss about the Iran's nuclear deal later in this lecture itself in some detail. This is because I have already discussed about this nuclear deal in detail in some other lectures which you can find on our channel StudyIQ. So I will not be going into the details of it, but still I will be discussing in brief about the nuclear deal towards the end of this lecture to give you some clarity. So first reason, in the year 2018, the US President has pulled out of the nuclear deal and it decided to impose or reimpose the economic sanctions on Iran. So with the nuclear deal, the economic sanctions on Iran was taken off. But when US decided to withdraw from the nuclear deal, it decided to reimpose the economic sanctions on Iran. So this is the first reason. So this economic sanctions on Iran, it was a huge blow to Iran's economy. So this is one reason. And the other reasons are a consequence of this problem. So economic sanction of Iran, it was the triggering point, and based on this various issues emerged in the economy. So first one is inflation. So after this economic sanctions were put on Iran, the inflation rate is very high. It is almost 40%. So 40% inflation, which means very high rate of inflation. Now second one is the issue of unemployment. Almost 1/4, a quarter of Iran's youth, they are unemployed. So you know that if inflation and unemployment, if they are put together, it leads to a situation called stagflation. So stagflation is a situation where the rates of inflation, high rates of inflation is accompanied by unemployment situation. So stagflation can eventually lead into a recession. So recession is very bad for the economy, you know. So this is the current situation of Iran after the economic sanctions are imposed on Iran. So inflation and employment put together. So this itself is a huge macroeconomic challenge for any economy. Now third reason is the IMF projections. According to the IMF, that is the International Monetary Fund, the economy is expected to contract by 9.5% in the year 2019. Now, contraction of an economy is represented in terms of GDP. So, according to the IMF forecast, it is expected that the economy of Iran will undergo a growth slowdown of 9.5%. So, this is very bad. So, for any economy, a contraction in the GDP is very bad for the economic health of the economy. Now, what does it mean? When IMF projects about a contraction in the growth, it means that the output in the economy is expected to go down. So, when output further decreases, it means the recession will again increase. So, when output increases, I'll explain to you how. When output increases, when output decreases, it means that the supply comes down. So when supply comes down, what happens? Demand is more than the supply. So prices will increase. And this is called inflation. Inflation is the persistent rise in the prices of commodities. So prices will increase. This is the first consequence. Now second consequence is that as the companies or the manufacturers, if they decide to cut on the output, what will happen? The employment generated in the economy will come down. This is because for lesser production, you need lesser manpower. So employment levels will come down. That means the income levels will come down. The standard of living in the economy will come down. All these can be further consequences. So IMF projections also showcase that there would be a contraction in the growth rate by 9.5% in the year 2019. So this is another thing. Now, fourth reason is the depreciation of currency. So Iran's currency is real. So depreciation of Iran's currency is another major reason why the government has thought of a price hike for petrol. So Now, when we talk about the depreciation of a currency, we compare the value of the currency with that of dollar. Now, we need to understand how does the mechanism of depreciation actually work. Now, for that, let us come to some basics. What is meant by depreciation of a currency? Depreciation, whether it is of a currency or of any good, it means that the value of the particular commodity has come down. This is depreciation. Now, when we talk about currency, it is the decrease in the value of the currency. So, this is depreciation. Now, how does the value of something go down? The value will go down when the demand is low. So, when there is lesser demand for something, the value also will go down. So, this is the reason. There is lesser demand for Rial or Iran's currency in the international market. Therefore, its value has come down, further leading to depreciation. Now, what is the reason the demand has fallen? The demand has fallen because US has imposed economic sanctions on Iran. So, international trade of Iran has come down, lesser demand for Iranian commodities. Iranian petroleum or any commodities that is exported from Iran. So lesser demand for such commodities, therefore lesser forex for Iran, and lesser forex means the currency depreciates. So basically it means that in the international market there is lesser demand for Iranian currency, that is the Rial. So all these reasons put together, the conclusion that we can draw is that the collapse of the nuclear deal has costed dearly to Iranian economy. So all this happened because of the economic sanctions on Iran put by US and closing of the nuclear deal by the US. US had pulled out of the nuclear deal and therefore put economic sanctions on Iran. So this was the event that led to all these consequences. So this is the sum up. Now, in this situation, the government needs some additional revenue. So the current measure of the government to increase the prices of petrol, this is expected to generate about 300 trillion Rials, that is almost $2.55 billion per annum. So the only objective of or the rationale of the government is to raise some additional revenue. This is because of all these reasons, the government does not have money or revenue to carry out the expenditure. So that is why the government has come up with the idea of increasing the prices of petrol. Now let us come to the other challenges. Let us see what are the other challenges to Iran. So first one, the Iran's economy is highly disturbed. Now, the stability of an economy is based on certain macroeconomic parameters. It can be GDP, it can be the inflation rates, it can be the per capita income, etc. So, based on all these parameters, the economy of Iran is highly disturbed. We have spoken about the GDP of Iran's economy, where IMF has made a projection regarding a contraction in growth. Again, inflation rate is very high at 40%. There is unemployment widespread in the economy, which means the per capita income of the individuals also has come down. So basically, Iranian economy is highly disturbed. Now, second reason is the hostile ties with the US. So Iran has got issues with the US, and this impacts the growth of the economy to a larger extent. So this is second reason. Third one is that Iran has got a waning influence in the West Asia now. Waning influence means the influence is fading. So the Iran's influence in the West Asia, it's coming down. So this is the third factor. And on the top of all of this, there are domestic challenges as well. That means we have seen that with the announcement of the government to increase the prices of the fuel, there is nationwide protest. So definitely this is another challenge. This is an internal challenge, that is within the country itself. Within the political boundaries, there are internal challenges. Apart from external challenges also they are very important, very significant, and apart from that, internal challenges will further weaken the economy. So these are the other challenges for Iran. Now let us see what is the way ahead, what has to be done. So basically what the government has to look is to find out some lasting solutions. It is expected that the protest will come down, but the problem is that the Iran cannot always suppress this revolutionary tendency or revolting tendency by violence or by force. So government needs a lasting solution, and apart from that, what is required is that Iran needs to bring back its economy on track. So for that, the macroeconomic conditions should change, it should stabilize. So the only solution is to get back the nuclear deal. So getting back the nuclear deal will address all these problems. This is because all the issues like inflation, GDP, trade, depreciation, all these issues are directly connected with the nuclear deal. So getting back the nuclear deal should be the priority of Iran. Now, as I said, we will briefly look into what is the nuclear deal all about. It is officially called the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or the JCPOA. It is the official name of the Iran's nuclear deal. Now, it has been signed between Iran and the P5. P5 is the permanent 5 members of the UN Security Council, plus Germany, plus the European Union. And this deal was signed in the year 2015. Now, the P5 members, they are the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council. Who all are the members? It is the US, China, France, Russia and the UK. These countries are called the P5 countries, who are the permanent members of the UN Security Council. Now, what is this nuclear deal or the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action all about? Now, the deal is aimed at curbing Iran's nuclear program. So it wants to curb the nuclear program of Iran. And under the deal, most of Iran's enriched uranium was shipped out of the country so that the nuclear program of the country could be curbed. So uranium would be shipped out of the country. Also, a heavy water facility was rendered inoperable. So this is the second one. Third one, operational nuclear facilities were brought under international inspection. So these were the conditions under the deal. Now in return, what Iran would get? In return, the deal involved lifting of international sanctions on Iran. So Iran has to undertake all these. So Iran has to follow all these instructions, and as a result or in return, Iran would be getting a lifting of international sanctions on Iran. Now what has happened is that US has pulled out of this deal, and therefore what happened? The sanctions are reimposed, which is posing problem to Iran's economy. So this is all about the petrol price hike in Iran. Why it is important for us? For our UPSC Civil Services Examination is because of the involvement of US, also because the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action or the nuclear deal is involved, somehow connected to this, and also with regard to international trade, this is important for us. You can find the PDF of this lecture on our website www.studyiq.com. You can follow my Facebook page for more video updates. You can write to me at joycey.studyiq@gmail.com for any of your queries and clarification. Thank you.